Welcome to Friendship Friday. My name is Mark Long, rector of the parish of St Andrew in Newlands, Cape Town. Today is the feast of St Thomas, and one of the key readings is from John chapter 14, verses 1 to 7. Passage you'll be probably quite familiar with from funerals. Passage in which Jesus is preparing his disciples for a time of great chaos to come in their lives, as he will be arrested, tried, crucified. And of course then resurrected, and all the challenges to normality that raises for his disciples. And so it begins with those words, "Do not let your hearts be troubled," and goes on to say, "Trust in me, trust in God." And sounds strange in the context they're going into a time of great change. It will trouble their hearts. It will be difficult. It will be hard. There will be lots of uncertainty. And with that will come a lot of anxiety and even fear. But Jesus reminding them in advance that when this time hits, to know that God is still present, and that the love that they have got to know and experience through Jesus remains part of their lives and their experience. In terms of the passage, of course, key to St. Thomas's day is the fact that Thomas asks a question. And Thomas often asks questions, and actually they're helpful questions, because Jesus is talking here about what is to come. Jesus having some understanding of the consequences of his actions, the teaching that he has given, the manner in which he is engaged with society, the healing and all that went with that. So he has a fair awareness, I believe, of what he's about to face. The disciples are caught up in their own hopes and dreams, and they see him as a future king. They see Israel back on its feet as a nation to be contended with, and Jesus part of that journey for them. And so they're not really sure what he's on about. And it's Thomas who asks the question. We don't know where you're going. Can you be a little bit more specific here? And certainly that's a question I seem to be asking quite often as we engage with the various regulations that need to be dealt with. Can you be just a little bit more specific? What does this actually mean in reality? We're allowed to have the churches open again, and are being reticent to do that, partly because one doesn't as church want to become a vector for this virus. But as one looks at all the detail of the regulations around that, can you do this? Can you do that? Why can't you do this? That doesn't make sense in comparison to this. It's proving quite a journey as we consider that all. And of course, for many of you engaging with this interaction with me, probably longing to be back in church, be back in a context of community and physical community, and embracing all of that. But I'm getting away from my point, which is Thomas asking these questions. He's often called the doubter. And I think there's often an implication of negativity there, as we say it. But actually, doubt is an incredibly important part of our journey and growth in faith, because doubt leads us to ask questions. And when we ask questions, we begin to look for answers. We may not always find them, but we begin to seek and to search. And that reflects other passages in scriptures. And back in, I think it's Isaiah, if you search for me with all your heart, I will be found by you. It's probably Jeremiah, actually. I've never been good on chapter and verse. But an important passage that, just saying, God saying to us that we're designed to be seekers. We're designed to be pilgrims. It's a journey that we're on. And COVID-19 and the pandemic and the lockdown and everything, it's part of the journey. And it's part of a journey that God walks with us and that we're called to be on together. So when you find yourself struggling, when you find yourself doubting on whatever level, from God's love for you, God's presence in our world, to the actions of people around us, government, friends and others, those questions are important, and hopefully as we ask them, or that doubt is important, and hopefully as that doubt connects with the questions we begin to ask, it will enable us to grow deeper in our relationships with our own awareness of self, with our relationship with one another, and of course ultimately in our relationship with God, with creation itself, and that we may just have a deeper and fuller understanding of who we are, what we're called to, what we're about. And so as much as there is huge uncertainty for us around this new context that we're grappling with, let us trust those words of Jesus. Do not let your hearts be troubled. But let us also have the courage of Thomas to ask the question and to say, we don't understand. And to know that through the Spirit of God, we will be engaged and our understanding will grow. We will look back in years to come and probably give thanks for much of what this pandemic has brought about in our world, in getting us to engage differently, to come back to basics in life, to really consider what is important and of course what is not important. So I'm not sure that all of that makes a huge amount of sense, but I think it's part of my journey at the moment, just really knowing that as much as I don't enjoy this new context, that there is purpose in it, and that I am growing, and my awareness of life and God, view of myself, is all part of this journey. And so may God be with us, and may God lead us and guide us. And in the midst of it all, may we know God's love and God's peace.